Greetings everybody, welcome to a Marvel Avengers Alliance related video here on YouTube. G for G is the channel, Napalm Dawn is the host. So today I'm continuing my series of interesting gear that I miss most from the game. And we're hitting upon an item that I think a lot of people knew I was eventually going to get around to, especially if they follow my videos back in the day. And that is the Devourer. So the Devourer is a sword that I used to call the hardest working sword, or actually the hardest working gear in Marvel Avengers Alliance. And you'll see that in the background I'm using my video of a team called Craven Blood. And this is a video that I did somewhat near the end of Marvel Avengers Alliance. It's March of 2016, so there were just a few months left in the game, and unfortunately we didn't exactly know it at the time. So it was a team up that I was doing of Morbius and Craven, and you'll see here that I was running some ISOs on Morbius over there, and it looks like I'm not going to mouse over the... I'll probably mouse over the ISOs, but I remember inventing this team, and it was one that was a lot of fun. And as you can guess, it was heavily based on bleeds. So, yeah, restores stamina when he uses it. And I think Craven also has something similar to that on his potion cocktail. This was a really fun team up. You'll see I have the Devourer, the Lantern of Doom, the weather control device for the AoE bleeds, the Deb, and the Scroll of Ruta. That scroll, of course, was one of my favorite things of all time in the entirety of the game, and actually so was the Devourer. I made sure that I had one of those at 300 because that sword was a lot of fun. Now the Deb, or the Dark Energy Blade, it's hard to say that's a love thing or a hate thing, so much as it existed and it did its job extremely well. It was something you rarely ever used for offense. It wasn't fun to use the Deb. It was a good utility. You know, like some people feel that way with water. They know they have to drink it, but they don't exactly consider water fun, and that's why we have Mio. So the weather control device, Lantern, Doom, Scroll of Ruta, the Devourer, the rest of those were definitely an absolute ass ton of fun. So before we get into the meat of the video, as always, this is an old video on YouTube from my own channel that I'm watching to talk about here in this video because it has some good examples. And this video has nothing to do with Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux, so don't ask about it, don't ask for downloads. This is strictly not rehashing, but it's in a way rehashing old content for modern times. And it is, the theme of it is stuff that I'm looking forward to getting again when Marvel Avengers Alliance hopefully goes through all of its paces, its alphas and betas, and shows up live. And I'll tell you, man, that first page right over here, there's a lot of stuff on the heroes at that first page that I would love to see again. As soon as I get this tooltip out of the way, I'll show it. So Pound of Cure, that was a very interesting weapon, and that one may deserve a video in its own right, but it probably wouldn't be a video dedicated to that gear itself, but rather a certain theme that Pound of Cure fits in. So, oh damn, just missed it. Alright, hold on one second. I was probably lowering the sound. Okay, so here on this first page, Black Cat, who was extremely bugged when Night America came released, to the fact that whoever thought Black Cat would become a one-shot artist, but she did with the Night America bug. Captain Steve Rogers. This was my favorite alt of all of the Captain America alts, and a lot of people may go, what are you, crazy? Like, you must be smoking crack. CSR was a huge Swiss Army knife. he wasn't the classic captain where he was an amazing tank and then that's what he did was have high hit points in defense and just soak. CSR, it was a complete Swiss Army toolkit of amazingness. Uncanny Cyclops was extremely popular in PvP for a while because of his Don't Die on Me. We have Sweats Devil. We have Hafe. We have Invisible Woman with, I think I had air pressure at that point. And we had Null, and Null was always a lot of fun. So, we'll come back to the video. Devourer was part of the Son of the Demon set. It saw part of so it dropped in Special Operations 11. It was part of a set, and then it also got 2 releases. August of 2013 and the turn of the new year of 2015 into 2016. This is probably when I picked it up, and I don't think I would have rebought it at 2015 to have a Spartan level 1, a 300 level 1, but it is certainly possible. So let's take a look at the set that it was part of. It included the Scourging Gaze, the Heir of Hell, the Devourer, the Chalice of Souls, and it also had an unofficial thing in the Hammering Nail, which technically is a downgraded version of the Heir of Hell. So the Scourging Gate, the way that it worked with this set is that it placed a debuff on you similar to Satana. If you had that specific debuff on you, another piece of the set worked better. So Scourging Gaze is stealthy, applies off balance and corner to all enemies, requires Dizzy to cause generalized. So Dizzy was caused by the Chalice of Souls. So if you wanted the AoE generalized, you ran the Chalice to buff up the Scourging Gaze. The Scourging Gaze gave you Weakened, which fed the Devourer. So if you had the Scourging Gaze equipped, and then you had the Devourer, not only would you do bleeding and the blood curse on the agent, it can cause incapacitation if the agent is weakened. Now, it is entirely possible to get around that simply by having weakened from another source. But I pretty much use the Devourer standalone. I will say that the Heir of Hell was a really cool design. I like that sword design very much. And the Chalice of Souls, we may come back to that at some point in time. I don't know. Maybe. But if we take a look at the Devourer over here, it is an AoE weapon, of course, which would later become very, very risky when bruisers ran a scutcheon because they would just drain off of this. It's melee. But it's also magic. So because it's magic, it had great synergy with the Crooked Branch. And here's why. The Crooked Branch said anytime you do something magic, you heal. Well, the Devourer, much like, say, Rocket Raccoon, Hogun, Union Jack, Spider-Man Noir, not only did it do follow-ups, but it did counters. So if you had the buff up and you were countering a lot and you were joining in with follow-ups, your agent was just healing himself by doing essentially next to nothing. You were doing things that were coming very natural because of the Devourer. Every single one of them was a heal. So it's very, very easy to stay topped off when you ran that combination. So you had Blood Curse, and this is where the Devourer was so good. Chance to perform a follow-up attack when an ally attacks a bleeding target. Chance to counter when a bleeding enemy attacks an ally. So I had specific characters that I liked to run this. The Black Knight was definitely one of them, and I will show you why. So as the Black Knight, he had a similar thing where he had Blood Curse, but look at his passives. Chivalrous Duty protects allies from single target or area attacks, chance to parry and absorb the attack, perform counterattack, increasing the damage and accuracy of the next Ebony Blade. Curse Blade is replaced with Shield of Night. Pentecostal Oath grants all allies magic warding, And we all know there was that time period where Black Knight was super bugged and was basically immortal. But Blood Curse, very, very similar thing. However, there is a nice little benefit here. Allies' slashing attacks apply bleeding. If a slashing attack done by an agent or another character that wasn't the Black Knight didn't cause bleeding, it would. If it already caused bleeding, it actually caused double bleeding. So that means by the agent teaming up with Black Knight, the Devourer would cause 2 stacks of bleeds every time it did anything. So if it was used manually, 2 stacks of bleed. If it countered, 2 stacks of bleed. If it followed up, 2 stacks of bleed. Very, very good for... I mean, you can run Black Knight and Pesty and the agent with the Devourer, and you already have an extremely good team. Now, there's something that I never focused on when it came to the game being live that I thought of when I began to think of doing a video on the Devourer, and that is the movie version of Drax. I think it is... Oh yeah, so it takes 10% less damage for each application of bleeding on poison on the attacker, so extremely good with the Devourer, because the Devourer keeps the bleeds up pretty high, and it's very easy to get 2 stacks. Bleeding only persists for a single turn, and Bleeding Heart. Attacks by Guardians of the Galaxy cause hemorrhaging. Attacks gain bleeding. Guardian uniforms only. So, that means, think about this. Well, I don't know why I never thought about this when the game was live. This totally shot right past me, and I've never thought about this. We could easily run Gamora and Drax, the Guardian badge on the agent, and the Devourer, and you would have had a wicked, wicked team. Because let's look at the slashing attacks over here. On our melee buff, right, slashing melee. You would add bleed to the level 6. You would add bleed to the level 9. Well, actually all of them. This would gain bleeding also. Now, if we were to look at Gamora, and we were to look at her movie suit, unarmed slashing melee. So by Drax's passive, that's going, all of this is going to cause bleeds now. And when you have the Devourer going, it's, I mean, look, here's an AoE. This would give everybody 1 stack, and then all you needed to do was follow up twice or counter twice with the Devourer. Everybody's at 3 stacks of bleeds. And because the agent would be running the Guardians of the Galaxy little trinket that says you become a unofficial Guardians of the Galaxy, thanks to Bleeding Heart, not only are you going to cause bleeding on your attacks, but you're gonna hemorrhage. So the Devourer would be an absolute nightmare in this team, because it would be applying a stack of bleeds, and any bleeds that were out there would cause, they'd immediately trigger and fire off with the hemorrhaging. That's pretty ridiculous, and I'm really very, very sorry to myself and video watchers that I never thought of that. I don't know why I never thought of doing something like that. Now, alternatively, you could avoid the Gamora route and go for Rocket Raccoon. And you're going to be like, what is Rocket Raccoon is a, like, he's gun-based. What the hell does that have to do with bleeding and slashing? Well, I obviously will tell you, and that is the fact that with the Drax passive, all attacks by Guardians of the Galaxy cause hemorrhaging, and they gain bleeding. So if we were to look at Rocket, Yeah, well, we don't want the villain Rocket. We look at Rocket Raccoon over here. We can either have him as a blaster or generalist. Trigger happy. High chance to join in on another ally's follow-up or counter-attack. So that means all the time that the Devourer is doing its job, Rocket has a chance to shoot. If Movie Rocket is teamed with Movie Drax, he's causing bleeding and he's going to trigger them with hemorrhaging. You can make the most stalwart of teams just bleed the fuck out simply by the Devourer and Rocket Raccoon combining with each other. He gives all Guardians of the Galaxy guaranteed to be critical hits. Absolute wow. I am so ashamed that I never thought to do this when the game was live. I want to see if it mentions, there it is, the Guardian Insignia. Provides survival training to all Guardians of the Galaxy. Very good for keeping Rocket alive. That boosts Rocket's longevity a little bit. Wow, what amazing synergy this was. This is a huge, huge shortcoming that I never did this when the game was live, and I never really thought about it. But so this was an interesting swerve that I thought of when I was planning this video, and it wasn't originally what I intended to talk about, because one of the best things out there for the Devourer, of course, was the Black Knight. The Black Knight, with his passive of Blood Curse, means the Devourer immediately causes 2 stacks of bleeds. And, you know, like I was saying, you throw Pesty in there, it's good. Now, you could throw Drax in there with an agent running the Guardians of the Galaxy insignia and keep Black Knight, and that's still a pretty good combination. I still think, though, Rocket Raccoon and Drax, both of them in their movie suits, and the agent with the Devourer, and at very least the Guardians of the Galaxy badge, that is probably one of the most deadly bleed teams that I can think of. So what was good about the Black Knight is he acted as a little bit of a tank if you needed it, but he really sets up the Devourer extremely well. Now, if we were to look at Mach, who showed up later, grants all allies magic warning, chance to parry and absorb an attack, perform a counterattack, which is good for the Devourer. Blood Oath, chance to perform a follow-up attack when an ally attacks a bleeding target, chance to counter. So there's Mach getting in on the action too. And remember, if the Devourer counters somebody who's bleeding, Black Knight would have the chance to join in on it because it's considered an attack on a bleeding target. Even if it's a follow-up or even if it's a counter, the game still says you did an attack that has this condition. So Mach could become as deadly as a Rocket Raccoon or Spider-Man Noir when paired up with the Devourer. And you trigger... You essentially turn Mach into like a Rocket Raccoon type character for it. If we look at Hammer, Mach, Pain, Internal Bleeding. Here's another thing that's really, really good about this combination, is that he causes internal bleeding. And anybody hit by the Devourer is considered a valid target. So let's play out this scenario in your head. You've got at least one bleed out on the enemy team. Let's say it's the enemy agent. So the enemy agent does an attack. My agent running the Devourer says, oh, you're bleeding. I have this Devourer in my hand. I'm going to trigger and I'm going to swipe the Devourer. Now the agent has 2 stacks of bleeds and everybody else on the enemy side has at least 1 stack of bleeds. Mach goes, hey, I have this thing called Blood Oath. The agent on my side of the field just attacked the entire enemy team. They're now all bleeding. Even though it's an AoE attack, follow-ups have a chance to proc off of anybody in the attack. So not only do your chances go up from 1 target to 3, better percentages, anybody hit by the attack that has the conditional is a valid target. So my agent swipes the enemy team and causes bleeding on all 3 characters now. Mock says, well, 3 people were hit. I have a chance to hit all of them because the agent caused bleeding. See? There you go. When an ally attacks a bleeding target. So the hammer of mock attack over here can hit the agent and can hit the other 2 characters. So now the agent is at 2 stacks of bleed, 1 stack of internal bleeding, and the rest of the people on the enemy team have 1 stack of bleed from the Devourer and then a stack from mock, single targeting them and cause internal bleeding. That's crazy. And if Drax was out there and I was running the insignia, my agent would be swiping the Devourer and not only causing bleeds but then immediately hemorrhaging them. I'm so upset. I never thought about the Guardians of the Galaxy in their movie sets and the Guardian badge when I considered Devourer. I know I'm beating myself up here excessively, but it's what I did. When the game was live, this is the craziness that I liked to do, and that is a huge miss on my part over there. So now, obviously, one of the other things that would have gone well with Devourer is Elektra. And there is a reason for that, and that is because Elektra loved internal bleeding, so she caused bleeds that couldn't be removed. Now, she doesn't have slashing attacks, which is very interesting, so she wouldn't pair up very well with Black Knight because her attacks are just considered melee. And if you think about it, a sai is not a slashing weapon. A sai is a jabbing or poking weapon, so they're very much right in not calling it slashing. The good thing about her is Rain of Blood is an AoE. She was an infiltrator, so she could be made stealthy. Well, she was already stealthy. Chance to perform a preemptive counter against melee attacks, avoids attacks that are countered this way. So by preemptively countering somebody who is attacking with melee, if that person's bleeding, Elektra goes and counters them, which is considered an attack on a bleeding target, which means the Devourer could proc. Very, very... the Devourer is a glue that brings a lot of teams together. And Black Knight really enabled, with Blood Curse over here, he really enables a lot of characters to do extra things that help the Devourer. If we go back to the heroes, all these people here have slashing attacks. Now, some of them were not guaranteed to cause bleeding, like Farewell to Arms, Jekyll and Hyde. These didn't cause bleeds, but now they do. A lot of people used to think, you know, they would see people like Angela and be like, or Sif. That was a big one. Let's look at Sif over here. People used to see Sif and be like, she's got 3 of these sword attacks over here. Why does she not cause bleeds? Well, with the Black Knight, she does. Spitfire, you know, she did bleeds. Taskmaster had a lot of slashing. Valkyrie had a couple. She had magic, which was also pretty good for the Crooked Branch. You know, obviously Wolverine and X-23, everything they did was generally bleeding. However, if you had Black Knight and Wolverine and you used one of his attacks that caused bleeding, so instantly, look at this right here. He already causes bleeding ×2 on this attack. He would cause an instant full 3 stacks of bleeds if Black Knight was on the field. This, which doesn't do any bleeds, it would. So would that. And that doesn't do any bleeds. So would Feral Ambush. So Black Knight was really sneaky strong back in the day if you knew how to take advantage of what he gave you. I mean, Psylocke, her blades were psychic, they were kinetic. They weren't really going to cause bleeds, but Black Knight could make Psylocke cause bleeds. Especially very, very deadly for Infiltrator Psylocke, who might be stealthy and getting around protectors. Shatterstar would benefit greatly from Black Knight because of everything that he did. Union Jack also had several, actually almost all of them. And Union Jack pairs up really, really well with Black Knight and the Devourer because Union Jack likes to counter and join in on attacks and everything, which the Devourer absolutely loves. And if he's paired up with Black Knight, just about everything he does, with the exception of the pure gun attack, his service revolver, would cause bleeds. So I actually did a team up when I was focusing on Union Jack. I think it was Team Blackjack, which was Black Knight and Union Jack. And the Devourer just, it works perfectly for that. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit over here and see if we cannot see that team in action a little bit. Then we'll wrap up the video. And the scroll, so the scroll of ruta. So that was there for the reason why that's there is because of the manipulated. The agent has slowed, so it applies slow. So that is a guarantee. But if we were to look at the Devourer, we know the Devourer forces a debuff on the agent. The Devourer causes exposed. So if we come back, Soulfire. By running the Devourer with the Scroll of ruta, we are doing manipulated, which is like the Pesty effect. And we're applying Soulfire, which removes beneficial buffs. I'm telling you, the Devourer was really, really good back in the day. But let's see if we can't catch this team in action a little bit here. There's loading. Alright, so here we are doing a little bit of practice, and if you look at the other side, there's Rocket Raccoon, Spider-Man Noir. These are types of heroes that the Devourer would work really well with if they were on my side. And that's because the Devourer does so many follow-ups and everything. Oh, pre-counter on Morbius, which caused bleeds. My agent protected. So there's the Scroll of ruta, which means, hey, you're not going to get rid of the debuffs. Intangible. So he doesn't seem to be blast or blow up. No, he isn't. I saw the splash damage one. So this guarantees everybody's bleeding on the enemy team. Unless, of course, they dodge it, and that's because the agent is intangible. He doesn't seem to be running blow up, though, which would have been maybe possible at that time. But look at Rocket Raccoon. From Soulfire and the bleed damage, I mean, the dude's almost dead, and he's going to get plowed by Kraven over here. So first he makes a trap. Oh my god. There you go. There's a Devourer. Jesus damn, look at that Kraven damage. That's... Nobody used... And there goes the Devourer again. Hardest working piece of agent gear in the business. So that was the trap. I mean, those look like high crits, and they kind of were, but they were negligible. And it was melee, which I must have been running a scutcheon for this. And yeah, he's definitely gonna die at this point. Damn, look at Morbius go too. Look at the damage that Kraven and Morbius did in that battle. that was pretty healthy stuff right there. And I mean, Craven and Morbius they were nowhere. Nobody was actively using them. They weren't meta or anything like that. Morbius had some life with Blade, especially when Blade had that like super aggressive ISO, but that was usually Spit Blade at the time. Here we go with another Rocket Raccoon Spider-Man Noir team up. This time the agent seems to be a bruiser, and he's using the Deb. So first the scroll of ruta. So now they have Soulfire, and they're manipulated. I'm probably going to use the weather control device. I should use the weather control device at this point to give everybody bleeds. Yeah. Unless I'm thinking the Deb is going to counter me because it's a debuff. Nope. Alright. Looks like we got it off. Alright. So now they're bleeding. They're chilled. They have Soulfire. And Craven pre-counters with Law of the Jungle. I'm not running a Mystic. No, maybe I was running a Mystic. I don't seem to be debuffed. So there's the trap, which is gonna... I don't know which trap it was that I did. Oof. Look at that. Look at what Craven just did. The dude was nowhere. I mean, I don't know anybody really ever ran Craven on offense, and you never really saw him on defense either. A little bit. Just maybe a tiny bit, but that's really good damage, and the reason why I think he's running measured, if I remember correctly, which may have to do with grit. That's good pre-counter damage. Oh my god, look at Morbius go. This was a team that I remember being kind of proud of inventing, but I think I've forgotten just how deadly they are. These guys are no slouch by any stretch over here. So the trap is considered a buff, which is why it's restoring stamina to my team over here. Grit times 5. I think that's why he's doing the damage that he is, but damn. I gotta look that up. I believe that was measured. What does measured attack do? Higher the character's stamina. Okay. That's what it is. It's because Morbius's potion and Craven's trap and potions were considered a buff. So they were running an ISO that, no. Yeah, okay. There we go. There's Craven the Hunter. Let me check out the traps over here. So be prepared. Free action. Yeah, see, that's what it was. I was running the ISOs that says buff is a stamina restore, and I was keeping my stamina really high, which is why measured was doing so much damage from I Am the Hunter over here, and Most Dangerous Games. Yeah, that's what it was. And I think he was also running the grit ISO, which means he did more damage when he had higher grit. Okay, that really explains it. So this was... Oh, here's a meta team. Kurth and Emma Frost. Let's see how much action we missed over here. This is definitely one we want to take a look at before we end the video, because this was a tough defensive team at the time. I'm pretty sure that's going to be Infiltrator Emma Frost with the pre-firing Psychic ISO. Yep, there it is. I guarantee you that's going to be the Psychic Tap. Now, I do have a Tactician in Craven. Looks like the agent is protecting. I vaguely remember the gun he has in his hand. Ooh, the Deb. Oh, well, it dodged, but the Deb was trying to stop that debuff from going out. Yeah, see, there it is. Energize. That's what I thought was going on. He was probably trying to figure out what would be the right trap to do against these guys. We wanted to stay clear of Emma, clearly. The agent... Oof. Spicy counter over there. She attempted to stun my agent, who did not get stunned. Alright, so Scroll of Runemeroth, Soulfire now, and they can't clear their debuffs. She's got combat reflexes, which is making me a little bit scared to do the bleeds. I pull it off, though. I understand why I might have been... See, yep, there it is. That's what I was afraid of. I think I'm just going to eat the Psychic Tap on this. And there's the Deb being a dick. So my lantern didn't go out. And if I remember correctly, the hammer... That's right, the hammer pistol. Ooh. He pre-countered my Morbius pre-countering. I don't know what that was. Yeah, and he's got a scutcheon. He's got the draining ISO for bruisers. This is a tough battle, as you can see here. This one is not kidding around. Kraven's looking really low. We've got a lot of stuff on the enemy side that shuts me down before it happens. I hope I don't use a melee attack over here. Oof. I'm so sorry, Morbius. You just took a spear in the back of the head. Yeah, no, I see why I recharged there, because I knew the agent was going to step in and tank it, and that was just going to be a drain. So, Unlock Potential would raise his stats, but it would not clear his debuffs, because of the Scroll of Runemeroth. And here's me trying to get Kraven's health back up. So their Emma's almost dead. Their agent has got some reasonable... Ooh. There we go. My Deb fired off. And there's Morbius doing good damage. Even with the drain, he still did really good damage. So he was trying to stop the trap from going off, but the trap went off anyway. And now he has exhausted my team and put them on fire. So that should give stamina to my... No, alright, I wasn't running that ISO on that. I wonder what ISO I was running there. There goes the Deb trying to stop Kurth. There's Kraven using his vial like Morbius has a vial. And she's bled out. So that's pretty good. 3-on-2 now, and my team's looking pretty healthy. I don't have to worry about the pre-firing psychic taps anymore, so I should be using the weather control device with impunity now. And that agent is frying. He's bleeding out. He's going to get dot to death. He only seems to be doing the hammer pistol, though. I wonder what other gear he's running. We know he has the Deb. And the hammer pistol, but... he just bled himself out. Well, now we know one of the ISOs that he was running, the little shit. But goodbye. Why? I don't think there was another back for more prompt. I think the heal from a scutcheon saved him even though he should have been dead. There's my escutcheon going off. That hammer pistol is... It's kind of messing my team up a little bit. I mean, we've been shielded through most of it, but... it's been doing a lot of work. If he ran that with like a Spider-Man War and Rocket team, this could have gone a different way. Oh my god. Wow. 35k from fucking Craven? Oof. Oof. Yeah, that healing light. Give us that warm zephyr. Oh man, Craven's damage. That is really surprising. Oh, I know what it was. So the agent was unkillable because he was still in the mode that the game puts you in when you resurrect, and you are essentially unkillable until that character takes its turn again. Under most circumstances. I think there are ways around it, but there we go. He finally bled out. Morbius isn't exhausted, so we should use the cocktail. And then, what are we going to do from here? Okay. I guess he is still maybe exhausted. Man, I want to see Craven do a 35k hit on Kurth. That would just make my day. Alright, 4,100. Is she going to bleed out? No. Ooh! My team is just getting destroyed by my team. Yeah, this should be the end of it right over here. I believe this one is a fatal blow anyway. Yeah. So, wow. There you go. There was a very, very meta defensive team who was, up ahead of me on the ladder a little bit over there. And look at that damage Craven did. But, yeah. That's the power of the Devourer right there. It gets those bleeds out there pretty quick. If you're running the Scroll of Ruta, you could put out Soulfire, which means the enemy team can't get buffs until Soulfire is cleared off. So, there's another piece of gear in my series of interesting gear that I would really, really like to get back. And it's the Devourer, what I like to call the hardest working piece of gear in Marvel Avengers Alliance history. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sure it's one that you planned on seeing me do for this series. And I'm really sorry if I disappointed anybody, but never considering the Guardians of the Galaxy angle on that, especially with the badge. That's really a shortcoming that I just don't think I thought of, because the Guardians of the Galaxy, other than Star-Lord and Rocket, just weren't really used a whole lot at that point. Groot had disappeared from PvP, as did Gamora from the most part, like back when Doom was really, really strong. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. See you, everybody.